Memories. They're how we know what has happened. Everything you remember goes into who you are, why you act the way you do. It's a shame that people are not afflicted by the things they cannot remember. Especially you. Memories are funny like that. Sometimes when something so wonderfully frightening happens to you, your silly mind blocks it out to protect you. While it might think it's doing you a favor, it kills me to see it take those things away from you. Amazing things have happened to you. Horrible things have happened to you. Even if you've forgotten, I will always remember. I was there with you every step of the way. I was standing in the shadows, watching you, tormenting you. You have such exquisite fear. I can't get enough of it. Over and over I put you through the most exciting time of your life, watching each time as you collapse upon yourself in mindless terror. You're exhilarating. If only I could watch you suffer forever, but that silly mind of yours. Each time you forget what fun we've had and go on like nothing ever happened. You even read stories about horrific things, and you take pleasure those horrors as I do. Yet, you could never even fathom how grand it is to watch you endure them. None of those stories could amount up to the terrors you faced. I want you to have more fun, and I want to have more fun with you and spend more time with you. I want to watch you screech in dismay again and again. I want you to experience your agony 1,000,000 times. I only wish you would remember the dread I put you through. I wish that you would remember me and cry out into the night. It delights me thoroughly every time you see one of my abominations. You're so resourceful, always finding a way to live without losing any of your limbs. If only I could watch you die as you scream, so scared for your life. If only the last memory you had was of me, making you drown in your fear as you begged for mercy, tears streaming down your face. I tell you that I love you, and I would thank you for all the great times you've let me share with you. I think I would be truly happy as if I watched you sink into your final dying despair. If you were smart, you wouldn't turn out those lights and pretend you're not hearing strange noises. You wouldn't distract yourself and remain alone, convinced that you'll be okay. Do you remember what happened the last time you did? No, I suppose you wouldn't. Driving home from a friend's house, you sit at a red light when you hear a familiar tone from your phone, sitting in the passenger seat. A text message, probably from your friend. You always leave things at their homes. Being a responsible driver and the light's still red, you open the message and wait for a moment for the image to load. Suddenly a photo pops into view. Red, obscured, strange contrast, and no text to accompany it. But the light is green, so you close your phone and go back to driving, wondering vaguely what that was and who would have sent it to you. Perhaps someone accidentally took a picture of the inside of their bag or pocket and sent it to you. You're still caught, wondering as you pull up to the next light, also red, and another little tone from your phone. You flip it open, hoping for an apology from a friend, but find yourself waiting as another photo loads on the screen. This one, still mostly red, but textured now with scrapes of blue, yet still indiscernible. This time it takes an impatient honk from behind you before you realize you can pass through the light and be on your way home. Closing the phone, you continue on your way. You sit uncomfortable now as the tone rings again, at yet another stop signal. You pause, hesitate, and then open the phone. The picture now is suddenly much more clear. That scrap of blue seems to be the ragged edge of a bit of denim, half-blood soaked and laying across a pile of entrails, torn straight through the back of a human torso. You can only see from the bottom of the shoulder blade to the top of the thighs, but it's unmistakably human. Blue, white spinal bone smeared in blood, tubes of intestine trailing out between ragged-looking spinal tissue and going from out of the frame of the picture. You choke back a throatful of bile and throw the phone back into the passenger seat, happy to be on your way again, and dreading the knowledge that you won't be able to not look as you hear that tone again. There is some relief as you realize there are no more stoplights before you reach your home. But as you pull up to that red stop sign, the bottom of your stomach drops out and you feel a cold sweat build on the back of your neck. You have already picked up the phone, even before that telltale little tone has told you there's a message. The cell vibrates in your hand as you flip it open, your mind gone on autopilot, driving home with your eyes on the screen as the newest photo loads. Intestines piled almost artistically to the side of the body, scalp ripped free and no hair discernible, and that sickening contrast of darkening red on blue. For some reason you expect that even as you taste bile on the back of your tongue, it is not close or obscured. Flesh torn apart by God knows what means, torn denim and blood soaked so far into the threadbare fabric of a hand-me-down couch, the one you have in your living room. You pull your car into the park, hand shaking as you make your way up to your front door. You can't stop yourself now, your body's just doing as normally would, but your fingers frantically scroll down the screen, finding no name, no phone number, and a time dated on the message, 3 minutes from now. You put the key into the door as you try to shrug off your denim jacket. In a small town, a woman stood by the side of the road. She was holding a bouquet of flowers in her hand and nervously fingering the hem of her dress. She hailed a taxi, and when it stopped, she got in. "Quickly, please," she said. "I'm late." "You're meeting someone?" the taxi driver asked. "Yes, it's my daughter's birthday," said the woman. "She's 25 years old today, and she's waiting to meet me at 3 p.m. "Well, it's already 10 minutes to 3, said the driver. "I better drive fast, so as not to make you late." "Where to?" "North Cemetery, please," the woman replied, and she stared at the driver, her eyes filled with bitterness and tears. He glanced back at her in surprise, but did not say anything. The woman was almost in tears. "You know, my daughter left me a month ago," she said, "and yesterday she called me and said, 'Mom, if you miss me so much, come to visit me on my birthday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.'" On the woman's face there was a trembling smile. "She's waiting for me." The driver slowed down. There was a traffic jam in front, and none of the cars were moving. "It's okay, we're near enough," said the woman. "I'll make it on foot." She got out of the taxi, paid the fare, and hurried towards the cemetery. The driver watched as she disappeared around the corner. He waited, and eventually the cars in front began to move. As he drove past the cemetery, He saw a familiar bouquet of flowers scattered on the road. There had been a terrible accident. A woman had been hit by a car and killed. It was the same woman who had been in his taxi. The driver looked at the clock. It was exactly 3 p.m. In rural Wisconsin, there was an old abandoned park. Built in the 1920s, it served as the town's gathering place for everyone. That is, until a newly developed train and tunnel for Tots Ride was installed in 1932. It was an innocent-looking childish train with one main head car and 3 small trolleys pulled behind it. It went around some loops before going into a small tunnel. But this is where the story gets weird. There were numerous cases of child deaths that year, all of them happening after the child rode on that train system. Some kids went missing in that short tunnel, and others were comatose after leaving. One, upon exiting, was found to be dead. Her dress was covered in what looked like small bloody handprints. Some killed themselves by scratching at their throats until they bled out, and one of them even killed another child before hanging herself with razor wire at the family's farm. The park was closed and the town's popularity as a tourist town plummeted. Recently, a team of scientists were sent out to the park. They taped a video camera to the train and put a new intern in with it before sending it on its way onto the tracks. When the train left the tunnel, it was empty except for the camera. The last 10 seconds were nothing but static, except for the sound of children laughing. When my father retired from his job, he had a lot of time on his hands. He began looking around for something to occupy himself. That space at the end of the hallway is such a waste, he said. We could turn it into a storage room. My father was like a man possessed, and he spent 2 days working on his new project. He hung 2 shelves on the wall and fitted a door, creating a small cupboard at the end of the hallway. When I came home the next day, he was nowhere to be seen, and I noticed that was a shiny new padlock on the door of the storage room. The following evening, my father still hadn't returned. My mother was very anxious and begged me to look inside the storage room. Both of us were wondering what he was keeping in there. I broke the padlock and opened the door. Inside, we found my father sitting on the floor. His eyes were vacant as he was laughing softly to himself. What was he doing? How did he lock the door from the inside? We never got an answer to our questions because my father had gone insane. Today, he is still sitting alone in his storage room, staring into space and smiling happily to himself. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.